Hello, and welcome to my first installment of my podcast, Talks with the ELD. Before we get started today, this podcast is sponsored by Seeker Holdings. Seeker Holdings can supply you with many essential resources to marine services business. They specialize in boat transportation as well as trading goods. Your safety and concerns is their number one priority. For more information to do service with them, you can visit their website at seekerholdings.com. Enjoy the podcast. In today's podcast, we will talk about the effects and problems of food wastage and why it's such a major issue across the world. First off, what is food wastage? Food wastage or food loss is food that is wasted, lost, or uneaten. This global food wastage amount is between 1/3 and 1/2 of all food produced. Food wastage occurs at all stages of the food supply chain or value chain. Food wastage is based on the human impact. So I researched more on how much food is wasted like every year in America. On the Feeding America website at feedingamerica.com, it states that about 72 billion pounds of food goes to waste, while around 37 million Americans struggle with hunger. This is a big deal in the United States, and it affects a lot of people in the US. Some effects are linked to society and people. Wasting the billions tons of food causes huge economic losses and a lot of needless hunger. I've done some research about the effect, and I've found that when disposed food is in a landfill, it becomes a significant source of methane, which is a powerful greenhouse gas. And this is very bad for the earth. And if we could lower this, we could be doing a big favor for this earth. So, food wastage is occurring in every country around the globe, and it impacts our low income citizens because we throw good and edible food away instead of donating it to like charities or organizations. An example of food wastage could be throwing away untouched food or buying food without the intention of eating it. So, if you're not planning on eating it, like eating the good edible food, you should donate it to help out your communities, like local communities, like food banks, organizations. And by doing these little things, you are helping lives significantly. So, the main reason I chose this topic is because I was born in a country with a lot of poverty. I was born in Antigua, Guatemala, and some parts of Guatemala have very low sources of food, which is very bad. And I have personally seen the factors of food wastage, and it's like a hard life to live. So, some examples to shorten food wastage is to give like untouched food, like I already talked about this, untouched and unfinished food to people in need. So while I was in Guatemala, my close friend Alex, who is also from Guatemala, gave our groups untouched food to people like on the streets of Antigua, and I was very surprised on the look on their face because they like when they received food because they were so happy and they looked like they were in very need of it. And we both tried to do this as much as possible. And Alex is also a co-founder of a group called Our Guatemala, which is an organization to help out people in need in Guatemala, like with donations and money. So we joined this group 3 years ago, and we've been satisfied ever since. And it's a good thing like to get into to help out your communities. Another example would be composting, which is an organic matter that has been decomposed in a process. And this process of comporting recycles various organic materials, otherwise regarded as like waste products, and this pretty much produces like a soil conditioner. So composting like gives the soil rich nutrients, which is very beneficial. And composting can be done like at home. It could be like man-made. They're like contraptions just for composting. You could probably find like a composting bin online. Probably like it could be cheap or expensive. Who knows? So like composting basically is like you take like unwanted food or uneaten food like has like rich vitamins in it and nutrients in it. Like let's say you could take eggshells, new, orange peels, banana peels, and you can just throw them in the bin with like soil and like mix it all up. and it breaks down those like minerals, and like it gives the soil fibers, which is very beneficial. So I do disagree with some things. And one thing is just wasting food for no specific reason. Like if it's not beneficial to you, then why waste it? It doesn't help you make money or pay bills. It doesn't help with any of that. So there's like really no point in wasting food. So like that food like can be eaten by like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of families across the world. But you're just deciding just to waste food without even like noticing like the problem that you're doing there. Um, by like just like not wasting as much food, this could be like like a short solution on cutting down food wastage and hunger. So that is basically like some like my disagreements there. Food wastage creates a lot of factors, which is a problem. So I did more research on a website called Lean Path, and they stated that some factors of food wastage are overproduction, which means a lack of visibility into how much of food item is often produced. And I also agree that like this is a factor of food wastage. And I also saw that they had like over merchandising the food and the customer choice, which refers to decisions that consumers make with regard to food products. And I also agree, like, those are other factors of food wastage. And, like, let me say this at the end. So, to sum it all up, food wastage is a major problem across the globe. It affects everyone in society, but it's more lenient towards others. So, let me say that you can't really, like, end food wastage, but you can minimize it by solutions. I stated this earlier in the podcast, but some solutions that can minimize food wastage could be composting, giving or donating untouched food or unwanted food to organizations, or using the food for beneficial reasons. I've learned so much more than I actually like have ever known about this world issue because I've like done the research, and I try to personally minimize the food that I waste. And most of the time, I don't really ever waste food, and I try to stay close to my goal, which is like no wasting no food at all. And this pretty much wraps up my whole podcast. And this podcast has been very different from any other projects that I've done. So thank you for tuning in to my first ever podcast show, and I hope you enjoyed. Later.